Artur Beterbiev is a Russian wrecking ball who so far has a perfect record of all his fights finishing with a knockout. He embodies the word power, and if you watch any of his fights, he's ruthless and brutal, but also very calculated in his style. He's the aggressor, but his thunderous punches are not wild, they are precise, well timed and deadly. Artur has an incredible combination of raw power, innate ability, aggression and discipline. He's also laser focused on his goal to capture as many belts as he can and leave his mark in history as one of the best light heavyweights there ever was. Unlike others, he's not one to waste words. Always respectful, Artur's work and the trail of bodies behind him speak louder than any social media post could. In this video today, I'll take a look at how Artur Beterbiev trains to harness his incredible power and uses boxing skills to transfer effectively into every fight. But real quick, I just want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Pulse-Roll. Pulse-Roll is a muscle recovery equipment company that have created and designed the next generation of percussion and vibration recovery technology. I've personally used their mini massage gun, which comes in a great portable design, and 4 different massage heads so I can target different muscle groups after a hard training session to aid my recovery. I have an exclusive discount with 10% off Pulse-Roll products when you use the code BOXINGLIFE. Check it out in the description below if this interests you. But now, let's get right back into the video. Training in combat sports has always been part of Beterbiev's life, as he started boxing at the age of 10 when growing up in Dagestan in Russia. He originally started in wrestling, but would be kicked out the gym for fighting, and in turn, found his calling in boxing. From here he had much success in the amateurs for Russia, winning European and World Championships. He also had a goal himself of winning the Olympics, but would lose in the 2008 Olympics, and then to Usyk in the 2012 Olympics. With this dream failing, Artur left his family and friends and moved to Montreal, Canada in 2013 to fulfill his other dream of becoming a world champion in professional boxing. But now the aim of becoming undisputed at light heavyweight. Once moving to Canada, he quickly impressed his future trainer Mark Ramsey and conditioning coach Andrei Kaluza, who later admitted that Beterbiev was the most gifted athlete he'd worked with. All world champions have an incredible work ethic, but then even amongst them, some manage to go even further. Beterbiev is one of those special people who devote themselves completely to their craft, as his current coach Mark Ramsey attests.
Special because he's able to generate power, you don't need like a big space. He can knock you out, if you remember a knockout like George Foreman with Michael Moore, like boom.
But now, let's look into specific areas of his training and how it makes him so beastly in the ring. Cardio. Having that eraser power in his hands, Artur so far has never had to hear the judges' scorecards as I just mentioned. So his cardio has never really severely been tested, but only on a few times has it got to the later rounds, and he didn't seem to slow down significantly in any of these fights. Like with any boxer, Artur does his road work diligently, and also skips rope as part of his conditioning work. In terms of things different from the normal, there's clips of him doing more explosive sprint training, which includes going up hills and upstairs, which no doubt helps him burn more calories and change up his road work routine. He's also incorporating things like sidestepping and moving backwards, which is obviously boxing specific movements for when you're in the ring, while this type of conditioning training will also help him when it comes to fight night. Boxing training. Beterbiev comes from that classic Soviet boxing school, which means he has all the very solid fundamentals. So the man from Russia already had a structured style from his amateur career, and has since fine-tuned it once he turned pro and trained with Ramsey.
It's to be honest, all the boxers that I have right now in the gym is boxers that I picked from amateur boxing. And when I scout and I look at them, this is one of the quality that I look like. I know it's very important for professional boxing.
Here are some of the things you'll often see him do in the video clips that have come out. The heavy bag. Beterbiev uses the best friend of every boxer for different purposes. He can often be seen training from very close range and hitting long shots from distance. But where he truly shines in the ring is mid-range. He very often throws short punches that hold immense power. While many fighters have the greatest force at the end of their punches, for me Beterbiev hits hardest from that mid to close range. Therefore, the heavy bag is where Artur maintains and develops a lot of this beastly punching power in my opinion. Mitt work. On the pads, Artur learns and drills to find their combinations and setups. He works obviously with Mark Ramsey or another coach, but the main architect behind his tactics and game plan has always been Ramsey. From what I've seen, most of his mitt work is either quick speed orientated combinations or drilling specific scenarios for fight nights. His punching power often gets all the attention as it snaps against the mitts, but in fact what I find more impressive is his timing and punch placement. Beterbiev has the technique and eye to deliver that power at the precise moment he needs to. A lot of those subtle details can be observed during his pad training, which helps him find different angles and openings when it comes under the bright lights. Sparring. Unfortunately, there's very little footage of Beterbiev sparring, which is something a lot of fighters keep behind closed doors anyway. There's been some footage of him sparring fellow gym mate Jean Pascal, who looked like he was having a really tough time against the Russian. There's also been multiple stories and rumours from those that have witnessed these spars. One of these stories, of course, came from a former sparring partner, Lionel Thompson, who did not have a good time against him.
And I sparred with him a few times, and that's by far the worst thing I've ever experienced in life. I've been hit by a car once when I was young, and that's how I feel like sparring with him. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't see nobody at 75 beating. People can say what they want about he's this, he's that. It's easy to say until you get in the ring and you get hit with the no gloves.
If we trust the words of Ramsey, he's a beast in sparring as well, and here's what his coach had to say on the topic. I don't even like to mention the sparring partners because that gives the other team an idea of what we want to do in the fight. What I would say is that Beterbiev is like Mike Tyson in the 80s. We need about 7 or 8 guys and they need to be strong, healthy and fresh. To be honest, I don't have anyone that does more than about 8 rounds with Artur. Even in sparring, he drops a lot of guys. Reaction drills. Beterbiev's perfect timing complements his raw power perfectly. Aside from the pure boxing training, he often uses different exercises to enhance his hand-eye coordination and reaction time. The most basic exercise is the reflex ball, which can be great for a warm-up or warm-down exercise. He also does a lot of ball exercises that are common among many athletes, not just fighters. If we judge by the footage, he has quite the coordination and reactions, up there with some of the other top Eastern European fighters, including Lomachenko and Usyk. The Russian will also do a lot of shadow boxing, which no doubt helps him to visualise and perfect his technique, so he can land those decisive blows on his opponent. Beterbiev and his team, however, will try to change it up from time to time and incorporate ladder drills, and this will no doubt help with his footwork and punch timing in relation to his movement, which no doubt helps him in the ring when setting up his timely punches. Strength and conditioning. Beterbiev may have God-given power in his hands, but it still needs a lot of work to be maintained and used. One could argue that a lot of his power comes from not just natural ability, but from his ruthless strength and conditioning training. So, you'll often see Beterbiev doing traditional weightlifting. The Russian's idol was Mike Tyson, but he preferred to use mainly only bodyweight exercises. Beterbiev does not shy away from big weights. He does all the Olympic style lifts, squats, bench press and other compound exercise movements with some impressive weight on top, further enhancing his strength. You'll also see him do explosive plyometric exercises, using all different kinds of explosive push-ups, including double claps, using benches or using the ab wheel and other variations to make regular push-ups harder but more beneficial to him. In addition, a lot of medicine ball exercises are used within the regime, no doubt to help with core work and explosiveness. Another area is obviously his forearm and wrist training. Punching with such knockout power can heavily compromise the wrists and forearms, so Beterbiev takes good care of them with some interesting exercises. You might have seen that barbell wrist toss, and I doubt many boxers can perform. Another impressive wrist strength training exercise he often does is the wrist and knuckle explosive push-ups with his hands, which has gone viral many times on social media. Apparently, this is done as a warm-up. If you plan on trying this out, please take your time with this. You'll also see Beterbiev do a lot of mobility work, where he does a lot of stretching to keep his body nimble to avoid injuries, especially as he enters his late 30s. This is an area I believe fighters should be bringing into their own regime more, to prolong their careers and prevent injuries. It's clear the Russian takes his strength and conditioning very seriously, and I'm only touching the surface with what he does in this video, but I have no doubt this adds to his strength and power in the ring. However, this hammer tire exercise is a first for me, and I do wonder which strength and conditioning coach implemented this. Diet and recovery. Beterbiev is as strict with his diet as he is in the ring. Everything is dialed in to ensure he fuels his body and lets it recover. Sports science is always advancing, and athletes have the luxury of using dietitians and cutting-edge recovery methods to stay in peak condition and prolong their careers. Despite this discipline, Beterbiev has almost lost his belts after failing to squeeze inside the 170-pound limit by 2 ounces against Marcus Brown in 2021. He did so, however, on the second attempt and managed to stop Brown inside 9 rounds, which shows you that he actually might be struggling to make the weight, and it does make me wonder if he can continue to fight at light heavyweight for much longer. As well, as a devout Muslim, Beterbiev does not drink any alcohol, which is great for any fighter. But on the flip side, it's tough to imagine following the strict rules of the holy month of Ramadan and training with the intensity of a professional boxer. But Artur seems to do just fine, and here's what he had to say in the matter. Everyone asks how I work Ramadan. I have breakfast before dawn, and about 3 hours remain before training. Everything is fine, there is energy. Of course, after a workout, it's a little hard because you can't drink water, but it seems to be not bad. Obviously, he's gone through this his whole life, so he is used to it. But for any normal person that would have to do something like this, I can imagine it being very hard to cope. As I mentioned earlier in this video, Beterbiev has that discipline to go above and beyond what other champions aren't willing to do. And from looking at all the training he does, I have to agree what Mark Ramsey said about him. He said, "Oh my god, the best I've ever seen. But it's not just how he is in the gym. Every single decision that guy makes serves his professional career. Artur's never drunk alcohol in his life. He never goes to sleep late and really takes care of his body in terms of food and nutrition. He has no time in his life for anything else apart from his family. Every little thing he does is for boxing." Final thoughts. Artur Beterbiev may seem a bit crude on the surface, but his aggressive style is refined and clinical, and is a style born from a childhood of violence, moulded in the boxing gym to bring devastation to the light heavyweight ranks. Beterbiev's success in the ring is a result of many things, but most of all we can attribute his tireless work ethic and dedication to the art of boxing inside and outside the ring. He's always a calm and respectful person in any interview I've seen, but once that bell rings, a true beast comes out. And that wraps up this boxing training breakdown, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Beterbiev's training. If you want more like this, why not watch my Lomachenko or Usyk training breakdowns? As always guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.